The 1920s were known as the Roaring Twenties. What do you predict the 2020s will be nicknamed as? The Coronial Era. The last decade of the before time. These 20s roar for a whole different reason. The Screaming Twenties. 404 not found, please reload later. The Roaring 2020s. The Dumpster Fire Decade. Alternatively, the years which must not be named. The Bad Time. The COVID years. Undoubtedly something much less cool. The Roaring Twenties. Decadey McDecade face. The Crashing Twenties. The Final Twenties. Just 30 seconds of shrieking, in B flat. The 1920s. 'Cause it's COVID. The Rona 20s. The Deca Y.D. The Hindsight years. The time of which we do not speak. Morning 20s. Raging 20s. The world is very angry right now, both from coronavirus and many things in the political landscape. We're absolutely fucked because we're too stupid to have gotten this far in the first place, and now we're all gonna die because we're too stupid to plan ahead, and we're gonna take the planet with us because we're just real fucking idiots. 20s. Let's hope they become the therapeutic 20s. The Terrible 20s. The Terrible 20s. Crossing my fingers for the Whoring 20s. The Stay 2 fucking meters away you asshole 20s. Coughing 2020s. The Tedious 20s. Ask this question again after the election. All depends on what happens next week. I'm not kidding. The Warring 20s. They won't be named if there is no one to name them. The last decade of the Holocene. No one would want to mention this cursed year again. They'll say, I remember, it happened to me in, you know when. The fucking 20s. Dark Age Part 2 Electric Boogaloo. The Greatest Depression. The COVID 20s. The 2020s. The Hindsight as 2020 years. Or a similar vision-related pun related to willful blindness. The Bat Soup 20s. Chapter 17. Factors leading to the downfall of civilization. The fucking 20s. The Masquerade. The Quarantwenties. The Dark Times. The Regressive 20s. The Great Regression. The Gory 20s. Maybe in 100 years they won't be referred to as anything. 'Cause there may not be anyone left to recall the crazy days of old. Casually implying anyone will survive this decade in order to even call it anything at all. Croaking 20s. The Purging 20s. Asterisk, if no COVID vaccine were to come until 2029, asterisk. The Boring 20s. The Shitty Ass 20s. The Boring 20s. The Shit Show. The Beginning of the End of Humanity. It's only 2020, there's 9 more years left to define this decade. Happy COVID fun times. The Whimpering 20s. The Whoring 20s and it'll be fantastic. The Great Depression Part 2. The Beginning of the End. The Sodding 20s. The Beginning of the End. The Moaning 20s. The Greater Depression. Dark Ages Round 2. Historically, pandemics lead to economic boom times. The Roaring Twenties happened only after the 1918 flu pandemic. It's hard to look forward, but I'd say we are already primed. Pandemics have a reshuffling effect. Old businesses that were in decline for years shutter. Operations that survive were forced to rapidly adapt. Technologically, a decade of updates and adaptations happened in 6 months. Once the actual fear is behind us, things will get interesting. The Goring 20s. Wouldn't it be nice if it was the Soaring 20s? Certainly seems like there's a lot of room for upside. The Dying 20s. The Greater Depression. I'm going with the Whoring 20s. COVID took over the decade. No one can leave home. We all have OnlyFans. The COV and ties. The coughing 20s. Thanks for watching. See you later.